breast cancer runs in my family. My mom, unfortunately, battled it when she was young in her 40s, and twice she had a mastectomy, and then 5 years later, when it's supposed to be in remission, it reoccurred in her other breast, and then it spread into her lymph nodes, and she passed when she was 50. So I've lived with that fear of it was eventually going to get me too. And I was 45, found a lump in October, went and had it drained. Luckily, it was just a cyst, and so I thought, okay, that was scary. And 3 months later, I found another lump in the exact same spot. Was more perturbed that I was going to have to be taking time off to take care of it. 2005 was the lump in October, and then so 2006, January 2006 is when I found that lump again. Found the lump. I didn't really want to go because I was more a hassle to get it drained, but it felt a little different, so I went ahead and made the appointment. They couldn't drain anything, so the doctor was very suspicious. She was very proactive and scheduled me to get a mammogram, an ultrasound that very next day. She even scheduled a surgeon appointment because she figured whatever was in there most likely would need to come out. So when I was in getting the mammogram, the doctor, or not the doctor, but the technician asked, what kind of breast cancer did your mom have? And I had no idea that there were so many different types. So I ended up getting an education I really didn't think I wanted. The ultrasound technician that day also probably said too much because she said that my lump looked like just a cluster of cysts. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll be a good girl. I won't drink my coffee, because my aunts have always lectured about how much coffee causes, the caffeine causes the cysts and all that. So I'm thinking, okay, I won't do coffee. I'll be good. I'm thinking I'm okay. Luckily, because that doctor did schedule the surgeon appointment, they called to schedule it, and I said, no, I'm okay, I'm fine, I just won't drink my coffee. And they actually called my main doctor, and he called me and talked me into going. I went to see my surgeon, and what was nice about that, too, is my husband was able to go with me, which he never went to my doctor's appointment. So we both go. She said she wasn't a gambling woman, but it looked like cysts to her too, but let's go ahead and do a punch biopsy since she couldn't get any fluid from it. So we did, and that wasn't fun, but then about a week later I get the phone call, and Tom happened to be off again that day. It was his day off, and I just happened to be home for lunch. I get the phone call from her, and she said she was sorry to tell me, but it was cancer, and it was a very rare cancer from what she could tell so far. She scheduled an MRI, and which then did show that it had spread into my lymph nodes, which was my biggest fear because that's what got my mom. Just thinking, okay, if it's in my lymph nodes, I'm pretty much a dead duck. But Brian had, back then we were meeting at the school. Our church was at a school. We didn't have a building at that time, and he actually had me come forward. The whole church physically came and laid hands on me. So they laid hands on me, and Pastor Ryan said, I'm expecting a miracle. He's a man that walks by faith and believes God can do anything. And so I said, I'm receiving that. And so surgery was done. I had a double mastectomy, and they did an immediate reconstruction at that time, which was...
So the miracle did not happen right then and there?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know anything about it. I'm just kind of going through the motions. I'm being a good patient. I'm doing whatever they tell me to do. So a week after my surgery, I go to have my post-op appointment, and my doctor shows up. She comes in the room. I have all my family with my friend with pen and paper in hand to take notes on how to keep me alive because the prognosis was bad. Actually, not only did the MRI show that it had spread to my lymph nodes, it also showed that while I was in surgery, they inject a radioactive dye into the breast, which then takes it to the sentinel node, lymph node. And if it does show cancers in that node, then they will take other lymph nodes out and test those. So that's what they did, and it did show that it had spread. So they took out a lot more lymph nodes. So that day when I go in to see the doctor the week later, and she walks in with these two other doctors, kind of with a look on her face like she was sorry about something, and she came in and said, I have good news and bad news. And we're like, okay, what's the good news? Because I'll take the good news. Usually I take the bad news first, but she said the cancer didn't spread. It wasn't in my lymph nodes. We're like, that's weird. The MRI showed it, and the biopsy right there then in surgery showed it. So how do you explain that? She's like, we can't. we don't know. And I said, well, I know, because it was a miracle. My church laid hands. I was like telling her the whole story about that. And she's like, well, we can't explain it. So she still wanted me to go through the protocol of chemotherapy just in case. And so it's been 6 years since my whole ordeal, but January, because I was on medication and they want to keep you on that medication. So I got the news from my oncologist just this last January that I am cancer-free. Hope. I need to give hope, and I just want someone that's going through something similar to this to know that the power of prayer is just priceless. You know, you just don't give up hope, and I know the enemy will do whatever he can to keep us down. And because of my family, my friends, my church, and my Lord, I was able to walk through that with my head held high because I know he has bigger and better things for me. So I hope you're encouraged.
Thank you.